From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Monday, December the 12th, 2016. The F-35s that were supposed to arrive earlier today in Israel were delayed several hours due to fog in Italy, but did finally land in Israel this evening local time. The advanced fighter jets, which Israel procured from the United States, part of the U.S. defense aid package to Israel, left Texas on Thursday and were making their way to Israel, stopping over in Italy for the weekend, where heavy fog kept them grounded as Israeli and American leaders awaited their arrival at the Nevatim Air Base in southern Israel earlier today. But the IDF said in a statement that due to bad weather, the fighters were not able to take off at the scheduled time today, and the ceremony was postponed from 2:30 to 7:30 p.m. Israel time, when Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, President Reuven Rivlin, Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman, and U.S. Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter officially welcomed the jets with an elaborate ceremony. Turkey's new ambassador to Israel presented his credentials to Israeli President Rivlin today. Mekin Mustafa Kemal Okem officially assumed his ambassadorial position at a ceremony at the president's residence in Jerusalem, together with his family. He is Turkey's first envoy since ties between Israel and Turkey were greatly strained over the Mavi Marmara incident of 2010, when Israeli commandos boarded a ship trying to breach Israel's blockade of Gaza. They were attacked by armed protesters on board, and in the clashes that ensued, 10 Turkish citizens were killed and several Israeli troops were injured. Israel's new ambassador to Turkey, Eitan Naeh, presented his credentials to Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan last week. Naeh's arrival last week in Ankara and Okem's arrival today in Jerusalem are seen as the final stages of reconciliation between the two countries. And Okem said at the ceremony today, "This is a new beginning in our bilateral relations and in our joint efforts in this region, in which we have close ties, historical ties." Okem said the region had more than its share of challenges, but also big opportunities. He said, as before, Turkey and Israel will work together to make sure that these opportunities are fully utilized and challenges are met. And regarding any difficulties down the road, Okem said, we will be able to overcome together with our partners and friends, Israel. And Israel's ambassador to the United Nations is leading a delegation of UN envoys to Israel this week. Dani Danon is escorting a group of ambassadors on a 5-day trip organized by the American Jewish Committee's Project Interchange. Danon said of the 14 envoys who hail from Africa, Asia, Europe, and Latin America that ambassadors to the UN represent their countries in the world's most important international forum. Their visit to Israel, he said, will provide them the opportunity to view up close the challenges and opportunities facing the Jewish state during a tumultuous time in our region. AJC Director of Diplomatic Affairs, Ambassador Aaron Jacob, who heads the group, said the more one knows about Israel, the more one understands, and that is why this 5-day visit is so important. Jacob said the trip aimed to provide a deeper understanding of the geopolitical and security challenges that Israel faces. The delegation will travel across the country and meet with Israeli officials as well as Palestinian officials in Ramallah and try and address the current challenges to advancing the peace process. The U.S. Senate passed a bill on Friday to ease the return of Nazi-stolen art to its rightful owners and heirs. The Holocaust Expropriated Art Recovery Act, or HEAR, unanimously passed the Senate. The same bill, as we reported to you last week, was passed in the House on December the 7th. The bill, which extends the statute of limitations on restitution regarding Nazi-looted art, now awaits a signature by U.S. President Barack Obama. The HEAR Act was introduced in the Senate back in April by Texas Republican Senators Ted Cruz and John Cornyn and Democrats Richard Blumenthal and Charles Schumer. Cruz said Friday this bipartisan legislation rights a terrible injustice and sends a clear signal that America will continue to root out every noxious vestige of the Nazi regime. He said, "I'm proud to have worked closely with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to empower the victims of the horrific atrocities that took place over 70 years ago, and will continue to fight to bring peace and justice to these families. And taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Monday, December the 12th. At 7 o'clock, it's the wisdom of Dr. Ruth Westheimer. And then we bring you our highlights of the Zionist Organization of America's 2016 annual dinner from the Grand Hyatt in New York City, with remarks from Israel's Education Minister Naftali Bennett at 7:30, followed by Israeli Ambassador Danon, Alan Dershowitz, and ZOA President Mort Klein remarks at 8 o'clock. At 9, Mark Golub sits down with Israeli journalist Ben-Dror Yamini on L'chaim, and at 10, an evening with Jewish singer and actor Mandy Patinkin from the 92nd Street Y. And coming up right after this newscast tonight at 6:30, Mark Golub speaks with author Dr. Ilan Ben-Ami about the wife of Israel's third Prime Minister, Levi Eshkol, Miriam Eshkol, who died last month. That's on tonight's In the News. And that's the JBS News Update for Monday, December the 12th, 2016. I'm Teisha Bader.